So you just bought your first drone and can't wait to get it in the air. In this video, I'll help you get flying as quickly and safely as possible. The first thing you need to learn is the controls. Every drone controller has two control sticks and a few buttons. Those two sticks are what you'll use to perform almost every movement your drone makes, so understanding them is essential. But before we get into what each stick does, there's one more thing you need to know: controller modes. These simply determine which movements are assigned to each stick. There are 4 different modes, with Mode 2 being by far the most popular. This is one that most drones come with out of the box and the one I use throughout this video. If it doesn't feel intuitive, don't worry, you can always switch to a different mode later. The left stick controls the throttle and yaw. Pushing the stick forward increases the throttle, causing the drone to rise up. Pulling it down decreases the throttle, making the drone descend. In other words, this controls the drone's vertical movement. Moving the stick to the left or right controls the yaw. Pushing it left rotates the drone to the left, while pushing it right rotates the drone to the right. Unlike the other movements, yaw doesn't move the drone across the sky. It simply changes the direction it's facing by rotating it in place. Now let's look at the right stick, which controls the pitch and roll. Pushing the stick forward makes the drone fly forward, while pulling it back makes the drone fly backward. Moving the stick to the left makes the drone fly left, and moving it to the right makes the drone fly right. Unlike the left stick, which controls altitude and rotation, the right stick controls the drone's movement throughout space, allowing you to fly in any horizontal direction while keeping the drone pointed in the same direction. Now, on almost all modern drones, you'll also find the gimbal control wheel. On DJI controllers, it's usually located on the front left corner and is used to control the camera's vertical angle. Rolling the wheel one way tilts the camera downward, while rolling it the other way tilts it upward. On most drones, the gimbal can move from pointing straight ahead to pointing straight down. Some models can even tilt a few degrees upward, which can be very useful while flying very low to the ground or underneath objects while still keeping them in the frame. The further you rotate the wheel, the faster the gimbal moves. And on most drones, you can also adjust the speed in the app settings. All of these controls are essential for flying a drone, but there are a few more we need to cover. On many drone controllers, there is a large switch in the center for changing the drone's flight mode. On DJI drones, these are Cine, Normal and Sport. Cine mode is the slowest and is designated for capturing smooth cinematic footage. The drone responds more gently to your inputs, making it easier to create steady camera movements with minimal shaking. At the other end is Sport mode, which unlocks the drone's maximum speed and makes the controls much more responsive. It's great for covering ground quickly, but because of the increased speed and responsiveness, it's much harder to capture smooth-looking footage. The drone prioritizes performance over smooth camera movements, so the gimbal has less opportunity to compensate during fast maneuvers, making the footage more likely to appear jerky. Normal mode sits between the two, offering a good balance of speed, responsiveness and stability. It's a great choice if you want smoother footage while still having more speed than Cine mode provides. However, if you are just starting out, I recommend flying in Cine mode. The slower speed and gentler controls make it much easier to learn and help you capture smoother footage from the very beginning. Next, we have the Return to Home button. When you press it, the drone returns automatically back to the GPS location where it took off. It's a convenient way to bring your drone back, especially if it gets far away or you lose orientation. However, there are situations where you shouldn't rely on return to home and should fly back manually instead. For example, if you moved away from your original takeoff location, the drone will still return to that original GPS point, not to your current position. Also, before every flight, you should set the return to home altitude in the settings. This is the height the drone will climb to before flying back. So it should be high enough to clear any obstacles in the area, such as trees or buildings, and avoid hitting anything on the way back. The last two buttons on most DJI controllers are a record button and the function button. The record button is used to start and stop video recording, while the function button is customizable, so its purpose depends on how you configured it in the app. By default, it's usually set to recenter the gimbal, bringing camera back to its forward-facing position. Now that we covered the controls, I highly recommend reading the entire user manual before you even consider taking your drone out for its first flight. I also recommend spending some time practicing in a drone flight simulator on your phone. It's a safe way to get familiar with the controls and build confidence before flying a real drone. Finally, make sure to check your country's drone regulations and confirm that it's legal and safe to fly in the area where you plan to take off. For your first flight, choose a large open field with plenty of space and as few obstacles as possible. This will give you room to practice safely and make mistakes without worrying about hitting trees, buildings or other objects. To power on the controller, press the power button once. Then press and hold it until status light turn on. Open the app and connect your phone to the controller if it isn't already connected. If your drone has folding arms, unfold them and make sure the propellers can spin freely. Next, remove the gimbal cover from the drone. Then turn on the drone by pressing the power button once, followed by pressing and hold. Wait for the drone to finish its startup sequence and acquire a GPS signal. When everything is ready, press and hold the takeoff button in the app to launch the drone. The drone will automatically take off and hover at the safe height, ready for you to start flying. For your first few minutes, take it slow. Practice slow, controlled movements until you feel comfortable with controls. Once you gain confidence, only the sky's the limit. If you find this video helpful, leave a like and I'll see you in the next one.